Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Natasha Kipper, and I'm the Training Services Manager at Cubic AMF. Thank you for joining us today for part 2 discussion of league bowling. As always, we want to continue helping you and your staff prepare for reopening and league considerations, and our guests today are going to share with you how they are planning on addressing league bowling at their respective centers. They are going to share ideas and suggestions on how to adapt the structure of leagues to account for some of the restrictions and guidelines currently in place. Please remember, every center is located in a different region and different market, which will result ultimately in a unique situation for all of us. There won't be a one-size-fits-all kind of situation, and what may work for one center or one type of league even may not work for the rest. So just please keep that in mind. It's our goal to provide you as many options as we can for you to be able to choose what may work best for you and your business. Before we deep dive into this very popular topic, let me introduce you to our experts today. From our Cubic AMF team, with me today, I have Kyle Calcote, who is the online learning specialist and our webinar manager. Kyle handles everything on the back end, all of the technical components of this webinar, and will periodically answer your questions via the chat feature and provide you with the information that you request. As always, we'll bring up your questions during the webinar and open them up for discussion and collaboration as well. Brian Cain is also with us today. Many, if not most of you, know him from attending our previous webinars. Brian is an owner-operator of a bowling center in Pennsylvania, Kane's Lanes, and also the senior scoring technology expert here at Cubic AMF. With many decades of experience in the bowling industry, Brian has been an invaluable asset not only to our company, but also our customers and the bowling community. And today also we have 2 special guests with us and panelists from one of our previous webinars. John Losito, the owner-operator of Sun Valley Lanes in Lincoln, Nebraska. John has contributed to bowling for more than 45 years, not only as an accomplished amateur and professional bowler, but also as a coach and long-term leader in local and national associations. John's also a beta center for Cubic AMF, like Brian, and has been leading the way in evolving the bowling business for many, many years. In 2017, John was honored as the BPAA National Bowling Proprietor of the Year. Welcome, John. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Natasha. My pleasure.
And last but certainly not least, a man who really needs no introduction, Pat Ciniello. Pat is the owner-operator of multiple bowling and entertainment centers in Southwest Florida, and has just celebrated 40 years of ownership in the bowling center business. Pat's also a past Victor Lerner Award winner and also happens to be the chairman of the board for Cubic AMF. Welcome, Pat. Thank you for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. So over the past few weeks, we have seen a lot of changes with some of the restrictions and guidelines being lifted. With that, some of you have been able to reopen your centers recently. Can you give us an update of the current status of your centers and share what are some of the operational changes since reopening? Brian, I'm going to start with you really quick since unfortunately you don't have as many news as John and Pat might in this area.
Correct. Unfortunately, my center at this time is still closed. We have been lumped in with the Philadelphia region here in Pennsylvania. We are still in what's considered phase 1, which is red, where all non-essential businesses still have to remain closed. The end of this week, we go to yellow, and then we have to still wait until green before we're able to open even at 50%. So at this point in time, we have not even started business yet, and it looks like it's probably going to be sometime in July, maybe even August, before we actually get to open our doors.
Oh my, and that probably holds true for most of Pennsylvania, correct?
Correct. It depends on each area because
Sure.
it's all done by region. So we do have some regions already in green, so they would be open at 50%. It just depends on the area where you're at in the state.
Gotcha. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Brian. John, how about you? You were able to open just recently.
Yes, this past Monday, 2 days ago, we were able to open at 50% capacity, which in our case, there's two rules that apply. There is a blanket rule that's 50% of your fire capacity that applies to bars and restaurants. However, to bowling centers, then that's limited to every other lane with no more than 6 on a lane. So in my 32-lane center, I can use 16 lanes. With up to 6 on a lane is, of course, 96 people. So we opened Monday to some success, but some money is better than none. But we are currently only operating from 4 until 11 p.m. For those that don't know, I'm in a college town, and despite the fact that the college is out, there's still plenty of college kids here. So I've opted to go with a little bit later operating hours as opposed to some of the daytime afternoon stuff. Just it's not my ideal business demographic based on my location. But at the same time, I'm also doing a major renovation and expansion, and giving the contractors some rain to the facility during the day. So it's a alleged reason of why, but that's what's going on. So finally, we're open after being closed 76 days. So I can feel every pain out there that's still closed, though. So
For sure, for sure. Congratulations on that. Thank you for sharing that. Pat, how about you?
Well, we're a little more fortunate than the other two people on the call. We will be open 4 weeks come this Friday. We started very slow, basically with our league bowlers, contacting them. We kept a low profile. We did get approval from each of the 3 counties plus the city of Cape Coral to open based on our CDC procedures and interpretation of the governor's ruling. We then started marketing in the second week. First week, our revenues were about high teens to, maybe around 25% of last year's revenues. But we're happy to say that as of the last 7 days, we're at 49% revenue to last year. Still got a long way to go. We also started some leagues back up that had not finished, that had 6 to 8 weeks. And as of June 1st, we started rolling out our summer leagues. The good news is that we feel like we're going to be at 80% or greater with our summer league compared to last year. I, in fact, started bowling last night again after about 3 months. And at Beacon Bowl, where we are on Monday and Tuesday, we're actually up summer bowlers compared to last year. We're waiting for the rest to roll in. Casual is still a little leery, but the announcement came today that we're going to be at phase 2 in Florida, except for Dade and Miami area, which allows us to put seats back at the bar. 50% of total occupancy. So like a building like Fort Myers, occupancy is at 800. We're allowed to have up to 400 with social distancing. So we're a little optimistic. The traditional centers are faring much better than the FEC or the hybrids, but the casual player seems to be a little resistant to coming in, where the organized player, dart leagues, pool leagues, bowling leagues, they're back. They're happy to be back.
Very interesting, and overall pretty good news. That's a nice improvement over the last 4 weeks.
Yes.
So
we're
speaking of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Speaking of organized play in league bowling, what are your plans for social distancing in league bowling? Are there any changes that you're going to implement going forward?
Is that question to me?
Yes. Sorry.
Yes. What we did, basically USBC kind of opened everything up, where you could have pre-bowling, post-bowling, you can skip a pair, you could just about do anything. So with the existing leagues that had to finish it, we kind of gave them an option, and some opted to bowl on 2 different nights, and so that there'd be proper social distance. But we came up with an idea, and we call it PBA style. Basically, our league last night, 10 teams. We used 10 lanes, 4-man teams. We practice on a separate time, 7.5 minutes for the first team, 7.5 minutes on the second. observed lane courtesies, social distancing. We rearranged our tables. So our community tables in the back had one team, and then the other team would be in the bowlers area. So in this way, we could observe, the social distancing. It worked well. Prior to the league start, we told everyone about, please, no hugging, no hand clapping, all of the other things. You could, bump a knee, whatever you wanted to do, and it went very well. That seems to be the preference of our bowlers. You can bowl one frame. After talking to CDE, and one team can bowl one frame, and then the other team gets up in PBA style, bowls two frames. But in our case, we just bowled normal last night, and everything flowed pretty well.
That's fantastic. That's really good news. John,
Yes.
what are your plans for leagues?
We can start leagues due to a governor's order until the week of June 22nd, basically, for us. So we're just started people. I can echo a little bit of Pat's comments in the sense of, the 2 days that we've been open have been basically all traditional league people. The traditional league people definitely want to get back in the center and bowl and practice, which is great, obviously. But our plan is to assign one team per pair, putting them on one lane, and then having the teams compete against the team on the opposite pair.
Stop my video.
For example, if my team's on lanes 1 and I'm competing against the team that would normally be on lane 2, they would be on 3 and 4. So depending on spacing everybody out that way. However, we are planning on doing somewhat the similar thing that Pat's doing, and that's to basically ask people to,
If I could hear it, I would.
socially distance.
That we could turn off?
So will allow us to, keep the pace on play and let people still use 2 lanes, even though we're technically only at half capacity, and they'll be required to sit at one table on the one lane. So we're going to give that a go, see if that works for us as well.
Sure.
The local health department. So
Exactly. Perfect. And Brian, obviously you're not open yet, but have you had any considerations on how you may want to handle leagues going forward? And have you talked to any of your league bowlers?
I have, and I know a lot of our league bowlers are really ready to really get back at it. And so we're hoping that that's going to be a plus. As Pat had suggested, they seem to be a little more, ready to come in as opposed to just the casual bowler. So we're hoping that that's going to be a big plus, and we're hoping that we're able to get open in enough time to at least have summer leagues for a few weeks rather than not at all. But what we're looking for right now is our code is saying 50% of fire occupancy, basically, and I don't know if they're going to stipulate yet something in regards to just the lanes. But if they don't, then we're going to try to utilize 4- and 5-man teams by doing spacing, social distance spacing, like 2 in the set tee, 2 back on the concourse, and the 1-person bowling, to try to be able to utilize a normal facility type of bowling environment. We don't know if that's going to be allowed yet, but that is what we're looking at. If we can't, then we're definitely going to be doing a shift type of situation where part of the teams will bowl early, part of the teams will bowl later, and then we'll put everything together. And by doing it that way, we're looking at it as, rather than one team bowling at one time and another team bowling at another, we're going to be splitting the teams. So we're going to have players from both teams on the first shift and players from both teams on the second shift. So they still have that competitive feel when bowling against each other, rather than one team bowls and they're done and completed and the other team comes in and bowls almost like a pre-bowl situation. When we discussed it with our leagues, they felt that that was more like just pre-bowling, and they said, really, there was a lot of my bowlers that said, we'd rather just not bowl. So we kind of came up with the concept of doing it by splitting the teams and allowing them to bowl together. This way they still have that competitive feel, especially our scratch bowlers. Our scratch bowlers did not want to bowl if they can't bowl at the same time against the other opponents that they're playing against. So that's where we came up with that concept.
Okay, that's very interesting. John, have you maybe heard similar feedback from your league bowlers, particularly those that are serious bowlers?
The feedback that I've gotten is just they just want to know when they can get back. There hasn't really been much, great debate discussion of, what I've been asked the question, and it's more of the sense of, John, give us an idea of what you think might happen as opposed to what are we going to do. But I've alluded that same concept to them, and the consensus seems to be okay. They'll try to make it work. But Brian's right in the sense, competitive bowlers want to bowl against people at the same time. If at all possible. So, doing what we were going to do, the thought is that, in my 32 lane center, I do have a 32 team league that bowls on Wednesdays in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
16 would be assigned to the first shift. The second, 17 to 32 in a sense would be assigned to the second shift, where we would try to ask them to bowl at a faster pace, move the one shift up 15, 30 minutes, and then have the other shift get done 30 to 45 minutes late. People would be bowling competitively on the same lane pattern in a sense. The first shift would all be on fresh. The second shift would all be on the burn, which competitively wise is, I think, probably the more important thing for the true competitive bowler. So, yeah, it's basically the same type of thing.
Very interesting. And Pat, what's the status in your area? Have you heard any feedback from your bowlers?
Like John said, and they really want to bowl together. I think we have to have all the options available for what the town, city, state will do. Get them on the lanes. They truly, they were so happy last night to be back, and we got a lot of compliments about the centers because we did a lot of updating of the facilities. So that's very positive. What we also found out, the local center put a tournament on this weekend, and they just opened up on Monday, and they still had 37 scratch bowlers show up. And I think in the state of Florida, we're going to be doing something with a string and free fall event, and people will travel. They're just hungry. We have people, because Miami-Dade are closed, they're driving across the alley to bowl in at our southern center. HeadPinz Naples. So those people are just anxious to get out there, compete, have fun. And I think Al Blau is really the one who pushed me on it, saying that, well, hey, they could all bowl at the same time. It's all according to how big your center is, the concourses. If we could social distance in there and keep them going, your bowlers are going to be happier, again, by local laws. And they'll be there. And then the competition, bowling against the other team, knowing what's happening, is so important. We did tell the summer leagues that they could pre-bowl, they could post-bowl individual teams just to get people in and keep them coming, keep them happy. I think that's the key. I think as we progress through the phases in each of the states, it's going to be coming back to normal. I know, talking with Chad Murphy, they plan on opening the Open in September. They're going to use one team per pair, and then similar to what John had mentioned before. But then they're going to be ruled by Reno. But bowlers want to come back, and that is the main thing. And contacting our league bowlers and other dart leagues, pool leagues, those people are organized. They don't have the fears of others. That starts giving you the base. We have to get to 60% or greater. That 60% is probably a break-even point. Above that, we could start surviving in the new norm.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. That's perfect. Let me ask you this. Have you heard any concerns from league bowlers pertaining to social distancing?
No, not really. I mean, last night in the league, there was only one person wearing a mask, and she's a friend of ours, and she had Lyme disease, so her immune system was weak, but she wanted to bowl. She bowled good. She bowled about a 620 on it. But other than that, even casual and everyone else, no, we got to slow them down a bit, because they still want to go back to hugs and high fives and everything else, and say, hey guys, with casual bowlers being mixed in there, we just got to show that we're doing the right thing and trying to keep the social distancing. But if you have the ability to rearrange your furniture like we did in every one of our locations, it really it really worked out well.
That's perfect. I'm glad to hear that. John, any concerns from your league bowlers in terms of social distancing and how they may be able to do it at the bowling center?
No, I haven't heard any from my traditional league customer at all. Now, of course, I haven't seen all of them. Well, what's going on in the back of the minds of, some of the people, but, customer wise, I'm asking my staffs to wear masks currently, which is, I think, is a part of our DHM. I'm not quite sure if it is or isn't actually, because there was a change recently, but nobody is coming in wearing masks, which I find kind of interesting. So I think it's really about people just feeling comfortable. I think if they're comfortable enough to come back into your center, they're going to be comfortable enough to figure out how to, to do it so they can bowl. So it's just getting them back in and just making people realize that, we can do this and do it the right way. So.
Perfect. That makes sense. Let me ask you this. This is what I'm curious about, and I've heard a few of our customers ask this question. What happens with senior leagues in the fall? We know that's a big part of our business, has been for many, many years, and we know the current situation with how this disease affects senior citizens. Have you given that a lot of thought?
Yes, I have. Matter of fact, this week we're going to launch from noon to 4 on Wednesday and Friday. We have a traditional, it's like a weekly sweeper for seniors, one on Wednesday afternoon and one that was on Friday morning. But because of the construction, I've moved them both into the afternoon. But we're going to basically block off seniors only over the age of 50. From noon to 4 on Wednesdays and Fridays. So we're not publicizing those hours. We're just going to try to contact those people through our existing channels, with either email or phone calls and saying, hey, we're bringing these events back, but it's going to be seniors only. And we just started reaching out to them a couple days ago, and that's been very well received thus far. So we think that's going to be just fine. I think they just need a sense of comfort. And I know grocery stores have done a similar type of thing, and I think it works. So that's what we're going to try to do in order to address that. But I'm not giving up, I wouldn't have been open those hours currently. So it's a loss for me. So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. Very nice. Pat, how about you and your centers?
Yeah, well, we have a very large senior base. We're very concerned about that. So far, we have a few senior leagues bowling, but others were not ready. They told us to contact them back, in about 4 or 5 weeks, to see if we get them started. So hopefully they're feeling more comfortable. I mean, down here in Florida, it's not that bad, mostly on the west coast of Florida. Our hospitals are pretty empty and they're laying off people. Of course, the older people, their scheduled hours in Costco's and Publix, and a few other Trader Joe's. I know that Mike Ducat had a very successful senior hours at his location when he first opened up. He's got a big senior market up there. If we still have to make them feel very safe and comfortable within the locations, but I'm over that 50 year by a quarter of a century, and I don't have the fears. I'm out there. Maybe I'm different than others. We go to restaurants. We're not wearing masks. We feel comfortable, but we feel safe when we go into a place and they're observing the CDC guidelines. And all of our employees are in masks. We have sanitation stations. We go around, we pick up the balls, we spray them, we pick up the shoes, we're following, we have the logos, we have the plexiglass, we have everything. So it gives a safe feeling when you're coming in. So I think that's a big part of it. The seniors are going to be the unknown. We're very concerned about it, but I think as we move through the phases and people feel more comfortable, they're going to come out. They don't want to stay at home.
Right. I definitely hope that is the case. That's at least what we've been hearing from a lot of our other customers that have been able to open. Denise has sent us a question. Has anyone opened where masks are mandatory? Do you guys know of any areas where masks
for the
are
customers? For customers? The Publix, Costco's, Trader Joe's.
Here in Pennsylvania, any business that you go into, you have to have a mask on. So when we open, all of our staff, including our customers, will have to, at this time, have masks on.
See,
boy.
in Myrtle Beach, Costco is the only place that requires customers to wear masks, and the staff has been wearing masks from the beginning, almost.
Yeah, Pennsylvania right now is insane on the rules. I mean, it's crazy.
Yes, and I mean, literally every city and county may be different within a state, and even though some don't require customers to wear masks, they may require all of their staff.
Well,
you
we
know.
have a few businesses that have like signs on their door that say, basically that it's the customer's choice whether or not they want to come in with a mask. The governor says you're supposed to have a mask. Okay, it's part of their guidelines. But we have some places that have a sign on the door that say, it's up to their customer whether or not they want to wear a mask. But I saw a lot of negative feedback on Facebook in regards to those businesses that have those signs up. I saw lots of people saying, well, I won't be visiting there. So again, it really depends on the area and what the rules are as to how much you adhere to them and how much you do not. We are planning to adhere to them right now because we're required to, and we don't want to break any of those rules. We want to make sure everyone feels comfortable coming into the facility, but we know it's going to be very tough initially, especially with the mask with bowling. It's not going to be the easiest thing. So we're hoping to make some changes there, but right now that is the guideline for PA.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. I have a question for the three of you that's not on the agenda, so I'm hoping I'm not tricking you here, but there's something that I've been seeing on social media quite a bit over the past couple of weeks, and that is the COVID-19 charge on the bill. Some folks are doing it as a percentage. Some businesses, this is also outside of bowling, not just pertaining to bowling business. And some people are charging a flat rate. And they're basically saying this is to offset some of the costs for PPE and all these different things that now they're having to do different in their business. I'm curious to know, what is your opinion about that? And do you consider implementing something like that in your centers? Brian, what do you think?
Myself, I don't plan to implement anything like that. I mean, right now we're just happy to get the customer back in the door. Everyone's been hit with the same rules and regulations, all businesses, and even the folks that are staying at home. So I feel my personal opinion is to push another fee onto them to get them to come into my facility seems ridiculous. I mean, I just want them to come in and have a good time and spend money. I'm not going to take advantage of them.
Okay, that's one way to think about it. John, how about you?
My feelings are pretty much similar, and we really haven't seen much of that out here in Nebraska. The greater discussion out here has been the cost of hamburger beef the last several weeks, and about
right?
$1.50 or $2 onto a burger. There's been a lot more conversation about that out here than there has been the COVID-19 cleaning, charge. So,
Okay.
I would suggest, just as a side note, because, after being closed for 76 days like I was, and knowing that I'm morphing more into an FEC, we thought, it's the ideal time maybe to reset prices. But I found myself going through the step of, well, obviously with what's going on in the world, I have to put a price in such a way that doesn't scare people away, but, covers some costs. It did, kind of cross my mind, but I thought, nope, I'm not going to put it on as an extra fee, and I'm just going to do what I think is realistic for, the center. So
Sure.
it's a great time for anybody, if you've been closed for a while, if you need to reset your prices, it's time to do it. So.
Yes, absolutely. And I think people are now, in a way, at least that's what feedback that I'm hearing, are more understanding, knowing that this has affected everybody in a lot of different ways. So even to some of those charges almost seem justified from the consumer.
Yep.
Pat, how about you?
I totally agree with both Brian and John. I would take offense to that. Basically, we did the opposite. We sent out over 50,000 gift cards, $20 gift cards to get people in. I mean, the thing is getting them back into the facility, making them feel safe and want to come back. And we had only a 1% redemption on it, but 1% was 1% more than we had before. It still represented 600 people coming in and getting the free card and spending incremental revenues. You got to get them back in the door. You got to make them feel comfortable. And a surcharge, to me, is not the way to make that happen. We're fortunate down here. You know, the restaurants are open. We try to help a lot of the small business. We go out quite a bit and we observe a lot of things. And my big thing is I've been tipping, 30% instead of 20% to try to help the people out there. But we're observing what they're following and what they're doing. And we go back to the places that do it right. And that's what I believe our customers looking for and having that comfort on that. My employees do not like the masks at all. They feel and we bought a t-shirt one that they could breathe better in. But right now we have to continue that. That's so important. The first impression is so important when you go into a facility for families, seniors, anybody. So that's my feeling.
Absolutely. I think all of you are doing the right thing. Let me ask you this. So we still have, many states are beginning to reopen slowly, but we still have, Midwest and really Northeast, and I do believe Northwest is still for the most part closed. So we have a lot of customers here that are kind of, maybe 4 to 8 weeks behind John and Pat, Brian himself included. John and Pat, what would be your advice to those centers, knowing what you know today? What would you recommend or advise to them to do at this point in time as they get closer to being able to reopen?
Well, I know John, I'll speak first. Sorry, John. But John's doing a great job on social media, and we are too. And contacting your league bowlers and staying in constant contact with your customers. Let them be updated on what you're doing. Again, John did a phenomenal job in doing that. And calling all your league bowlers. They're the first customers. I'm telling you, they're the people that are going to be first ones to come back to your business. All of your organized groups, they're going to be the ones they're going to help you at the beginning. You're not going to start off strong. We've seen it in Georgia. We've seen it all over the country where you're in the low teens, the high teens to, the mid 25% first opening up. But the nice part is each week gets better. The people start coming out. They feel comfortable on the end of it, but stay in touch with your customers by email, by phone, whatever you need to do to keep them and let them know when you're going to be ready to open. Offer them something to come on in and enjoy it. Jamie Brooks, I spoke to him on it may have been Monday, and Jamie did a phenomenal job. He's got 900 summer league bowlers. He's running at 70%, just opening up with no game rooms, but with a concentration on that. And he does a great social media job on that. So if you have a strong presence on social media, let them know what you're doing, keep them updated, invite them in.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so encouraging hearing you say that you're going to start out slow, but things are going to get better. I think a lot of our customers are going to find that encouraging. Thanks so much for sharing that, Pat. John, what about you?
I think Pat pretty much said it, but the key is really, looking back, if I was just sitting here thinking, God, what would I have done different? Making sure you know who your customers are. And the reason I say that is because if you have any sort of traditional dates, reach out to those people because they are going to take whatever you say basically for verbatim. You don't need to convince them that your facility is going to be safe. They trust you. They're customers of yours. They're friends of yours. They're going to know you're going to do the right thing. And that's going to be, I want to call it the easy sell. The non-traditional customer or the occasional customer, making them feel safe, I think is probably going to be pretty paramount. And we did it somewhat, I want to say accidentally. I mean, we were doing these renovation updates, but the same, which was really kind of geared towards our customers that we knew. same time, we started to focus on, hey, let's just take a moment and say, if I was new to this and I was, going out into the world for the first time, what would, what would a place be like? What were they doing to make it be safe? So we just did a couple of videos, and matter of fact, just did another social media post last night that basically says, we're ready when you're ready.
Right.
People know, yep, we're here and we're doing what we can, but we don't, expect you to come running in the door, but when you feel like you want to go, give us a shot. So it's just the fact of knowing, who your market segments are and who your customers are, and then gearing some messages specifically to those groups to let them know what's going on. And those messages, I think, are different. But get the word out and, just try to be front of mind. That's what we always say, in bowling marketing, try to keep everything front of mind, and your place being a clean, safe environment, I think, is paramount in all those messages.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, we have a question that has come in. PA is still recommending appointments when we're able to reopen. Our thought was to open with mainly time bowling and reservations suggested. However, we have league bowlers that like to come in to practice a few games, who are used to paying by the game. What are you offering to keep it simple and accommodating to both the league bowler and casual bowler?
If I can,
Absolutely.
I just obviously went through this. So we made everything 90-minute blocks. So we are actually required by our DHM to take reservations for open bowling. Now, with that being said, and the reason for that is for customer spacing. So that way we don't get a huge mob of people standing at the front desk, not being able to socially distance.
Sure.
We, decided to do stuff in 90-minute blocks. And just basically we have two prices right now. One is 90 minutes without food, and one is 90 minutes with pizza and beer and or soda. That way we can put people in blocks and we can stagger those start times to basically try to control the flow of people coming into the building. We actually had very specific things. We're asking customers to remain in their vehicle till 10 minutes prior to their reservation start. We're sending them a follow-up email with all reservations to make sure we get their names, shoe sizes, and as much stuff that we can in advance. And we're requiring full payment online. So that way they don't necessarily even have to stop at the reception desk. That way they can just go right to their lane, they can bowl, and they can leave. We're putting out house balls in advance of their arrival. The shoes are already out. So for the league person, to answer that specific question, we made the leap when I installed hyper bowling across the center about a year and a half ago to go to all time. And customers, there was a couple of questions right away. Well, I want to bowl 2 games. Oh, then you want to bowl for 20 or 30 minutes. Oh, I think it's just a little bit of an education thing, but at the same time, customers will understand, okay, these strange requirements that the bowling center has to operate in. If this is what they're telling me I can do, I think they're going to do it, especially the traditional person, because they want to bowl. And not that I want to force something onto a customer. I don't. I'm trying to make it so it works for both the traditional customer and not. Now, I also told the staff, use some common sense. Somehow if we have 2 lanes going and somebody pulls up and they says, hey, we want to bowl, we can say, hey, we can do this. Here's the deal. We need to get as much information as we can from you, here, and try to keep people socially distant and get onto the lane. So, that's what we're doing. So hopefully that answers it.
Oh, I think you answered that perfectly.
Perfect, John.
Yeah.
Yes.
We started off with, we were afraid we were going to get too many reservations, which never really happened 4 weeks ago, but geared to the league bowlers. And we did an hour and a half, just like John did. And then after the second week, some of them came in and they wanted to do, by the game, which we allow more at the traditional centers, not the FEC. And we said, okay. I mean, they were filling in times where we had it. They came in, they were regulars. So we've adapted that pretty much for the league bowlers. They were allowed to have their VIP. They get special pricing on it as they continued. And we allowed the hourly, except for when we go into nighttime and on weekends where it's just hourly. So scheme bowling was allowed Monday through Friday in the traditional portions of the centers.
Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, couple more questions that have come in. Ashley, well, I think this is a common, but yeah, common on food and beverage. We switched to a limited paper menu, just fryers and pizza. This helps the staff social distance better on 2 different lanes. Saves us on expenses, waste, and getting the staff back to work easier. Then the service staff can just toss menu after use. Great job, Ashley. That's actually a perfect way to adjust. Okay, Joe is asking, are you employing someone at the door counting to get to the max of whatever that is for each center? Do any of you do that, Pat and John? Do you have somebody counting how many people you actually have in a center?
Ours is based on total occupancy. So we got big numbers. As I said, HeadPinz Fort Myers is 800, so we could have 400 people. We have not had that issue yet. We have had issues where, because of every other lane, that there's no lanes available and they're booked online. So we've had to turn people away. You know, we try to encourage them to go into the restaurant. And we do use paper menus. We did eliminate, we cut our menu choices down a bit to make it a little easier on staff and the customers. But usually in like Fort Myers, there are greeters when you come in, and they'll help you out. They've got their cue pads, and you know they'll help you if lanes available or wait lists on it. They're looking there. We just looking for big groups not gathering, but we're also calling. We have Salesforce calling, and we've been fortunate. We picked up 400 people party for December from Home Depot, and today there was a camp came in with 30 kids in it, and we're booking birthday parties, you know, with some social distancing on it. But we're proactively going out there, you know, trying to get the business, trying to make people feel comfortable, and we're using a lot of phone calls. We're using every means, you know, social media, emails, anything we can, billboards, just to make everybody. Bowling is back.
That's fantastic. And yes, after being away from it for so long, and then we know, you know, a few weeks back when Georgia was gearing up to open bowling centers or to reopen bowling centers back up, you know, we've heard some less than positive media press. So I think what you all doing is so important and so beneficial for bowling in general, to kind of spread that message to the general public that bowling is back. We're doing everything that we can to keep not only ourselves and our staff, but also our customers safe and welcome to the center. I think that's going to go a long way. Thank you both, or all 3 of you, for sharing all of that. And Jim Grant has shared in the chat the sign-up sheet for open play bowlers that one of his centers is using. Jim, I'm not sure if this is something that can be used by some of our customers, but we've heard of many bowling centers kind of implementing that sign-up procedure once the customer comes in to the center, gathering their names and shoe sizes and bowl house ball sizes, so the staff can bring it out to the lane, versus the customer having to touch many things before they find what fits well for them. So
yeah, Natasha, if I can, so what my guy is doing, and this is in Racine, Wisconsin, is right next to his house ball fitting ball, he's got a big jug of sanitizer. So what he does is when open play bowlers come in, he writes down their, you know, their name, their email, their phone, and what time and what day they came in, and then he has them sanitize their hands and then go into the fitting ball. So they will determine, you know, if it's a 12-year-old kid, you should have a 10 or 12 pound ball with medium size finger holes.
Yep.
And then the staff actually goes down and picks out the ball for them and takes it to their lane. So just a
Good
different
idea.
way of doing it.
have you had any feedback if that's working well for them so far?
Yeah, he's not even been open a full week yet, but so far it seems to be going quite well for him.
Okay. Good luck to them. That's fantastic. John, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say we're kind of doing a little bit of the reverse of that. I have specifically placed out 5 bowling balls onto every pair of lanes based on the weight and the available, where 95% of the customers would fit into the, the kind of that window, because we kind of know, what certain balls and certain grip sizes work. And then we tell people, if none of these work for you, come to the desk. We'll give you we'll have you use the sizing ball. And then we'll be happy to bring you a ball to you. So we're basically kind of doing the same type of thing, except we're putting some balls out in advance. Of course, they're all being sanitized between uses. So
Sure.
Our thought is, and we tell the customer, leave the balls on the racks. We will sanitize them when we're done. Then if there's any extra balls that went out, then we take those back to the racks where they were. So lead customers don't seem to care that they're on there. So that's what we're doing. So we're doing something similar, but we're putting a couple out in advance under the hope that maybe, that'll fit some of the customers.
Sure. That makes perfect sense.
We're kind of thinking along those same lines. The nice thing is our ball racks are behind each pair of lanes. So what we're going to do is the same thing John's doing, only we're going to leave those specific balls on that rack associated to that pair of lanes and do it that way. But we're going to do it the same way rather than leaving them in the return. There'll actually be one rack that'll be specified for each set of lanes. And if they need something different, they'll have to ask, and then the staff will bring them a different ball.
Sure. Okay, Ashley says we are doing 3-hour time slots with a set number of wristbands for our capacity. That way there's no question how many are in the facility. Reservations recommended by off capacity limits, bowl cleaning station where they can clean their own house bowl, and of course we disinfect continuously. Perfect. Ashley, sounds like you're doing a great job. Fantastic. Okay. I don't see any other questions that have come in, but of course to our participants, if you do have any questions or any comments you want to share, please feel free to do so. To our guests and panelists, I thank you so much for your insight and contributions. Definitely today, much better news you had for us compared to last time we were all together. Nonetheless, very useful information. I'm very, very happy to hear that things are moving in a much better direction for everyone. I'm going to quickly share resources that we have available here at CubicAMF for our customers. And starting with CubicAMF.com, our corporate website. Let me pull that up on the screen really quickly so you can have a visual of what I'm sharing with you. From our main page, if you click on support, you will find our standard resources that many of you have been using for a very long time, our customer portal, CubicAMF eShop, and then our recently redesigned CubicAMF Resource Center. Beautiful looking page, tons of useful information that many of you, if not all of you, can benefit from, whether you are still preparing to reopen, or if you have recently opened up and you're looking for different ideas on how to handle some of the considerations that you're currently in. Bowling up operations to promote social distancing. I highly recommend you accessing this area. It has, again, documents and information on several different areas of your center, such as staff management, lane management, guest management, and so on. Even touches on leagues and talks about some of these different formats that John, Brian, and Pat have mentioned earlier. And then one other thing I want to point out to you is our reopening marketing kit. Again, you can download it for free directly here from our website. And it's full of very useful information and materials that you can utilize for your center. John, I know for sure you have started utilizing some of these pieces in your center, correct?
Yeah, they're great pieces, by the way. Good job to whoever made them.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a giant team effort, as most of other things we do here, as you're very well aware of. Lots of work and resources took to build that as well, but we have had feedback from many of our customers that have started utilizing it yet. And of course, we get very excited and proud to see that. And free reopening tech support, another great piece for you to take advantage of. Here, you're able to fill out this online form, and one of our technicians will get in touch with you to schedule an appointment. Whether you have questions or challenges as you're getting ready to reopen, or you just for peace of mind to have a technician on the phone with you as you're going through all of this. I know it can be a little bit nerve-wracking to have everything off for several weeks, where never in the past were you in that situation. So if you wish, you can fill out this online form, and like I said, one of our technicians will get in touch with you and schedule a call to assist you with whatever you need. And finally, our Beyond the Frame. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, to join our Facebook group. We post several things almost daily. We have live shows on there, interviewing proprietors, sharing marketing tips, success stories, all of those things. Please be on the lookout for that. Lots of useful information. And of course, you're able to sign up for one of our upcoming webinars. And we also have our virtual training class on getting back to business. And we just published a schedule for the month of June. This is where we will focus on Concur and some of the considerations with this new way we have to do business. A reminder on how to do some things in Concur. We know you and your staff may have not been using it for a few weeks now. Again, this is strictly a training class. There will be a lot of interaction, a lot of systems cover. We're gonna, like I said, focus on Concur and some staff training and things of that nature. We just hosted our first one yesterday. And as you can see here on the schedule, we host twice a week. So if you are interested and may need any additional help, please feel free to sign up. We do limit 50 participants per class. So, so far we have had quite a few registrations, so be sure to sign up before they all fill up. And finally, our blog posts, they're shared on this page as well from our Best Extras blog that used to be exclusive to our Best Ex customers, but a few weeks back, due to this current situation, we have opened that up to all of our customers. Now, we do have a few posts right here that we have made available on our website, but if you fill out this form, you can get access to it, and the blog has a ton of useful information, marketing tips, programs, monitor ads, templates, you name it. Lots of things that anybody, any type of center could take advantage of at any time. So if you don't have access to the blog, you can fill out this form here on the website, and you'll be granted access. Again, it's been opened up to all of Cubic AMF customers as a few weeks back, so I encourage you to take advantage of that if you haven't done so already. So that's the information I wanted to show you on our website. Again, our Cubic AMF worldwide Facebook page and Beyond the Frame Facebook group. Be sure to check those out. Much like what Pat and John advise, keeping your customers posted, letting them know what's happening. We're doing the same thing and sharing tons of useful information that you could benefit from. So don't forget to check it out. And let me see if we have any questions that have come in while I was covering this, and I do not see anything. Rosa commented, love the wristband idea for capacity management. And Ashley said, thank you, Ashley. We're very happy to have you in this webinar. Before we close, since we don't have any additional questions that have come in, Brian, John, Pat, any last words of wisdom before we close up for today?
I would just like to say for everyone to stay strong. Obviously, bowling will be back. We've made it through many tough times, and this is just another one of them. But certainly hanging in there and staying together as one big group like we always have, we will definitely recover from this.
Thank you, Brian. John?
Just keep plugging away. That's all we can do. So, you know, tomorrow's a new day, and just, you know, things will slowly start getting better. So that's what we're that's what we're leaning towards.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. Pat, how about you?
I just say bowling is back, baby.
I can actually picture you saying that. That's awesome. Pat, John, and Brian, thank you so much again for spending your time with us and sharing all of this information. I know our customers find it very beneficial, and I know for sure they love hearing from you. I continue to refer to the three of you as our dream team. And again, like I said to you last time, I am looking forward to hosting this webinar again in a few weeks and hearing even better feedback and results from your centers. And hopefully Brian will be open by that time.
Let's hope.
Yeah,
Let's
good luck.
Thank you so much, everyone, and to our participants. Thank you for joining us again this week, and have a wonderful rest of the week. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right, stay safe.
Yeah,
Thank you.
stay safe. Go bowling.
Go bowling, yes.